the semifinal.
I never expected to make it this far.
With $250,000 at stake.
I'm so close, and I'm going to grab it.
Strategy goes stratospheric.
If you hide, your worst nightmare might come for you.
I kind of feel sorry for anybody who's going to come at me.
This is a game changer.
At the end of the night, just 9 will survive to fight in the finale.
Whoa! News just in. It's about to get real up in here.
Oh my gosh!
It's Head Chefs only in Hell's Kitchen, and with Gordon in charge, heads will roll. All new tomorrow on Fox.
Now, your primetime local news leader. Fox 22 News at 10.
2 elderly men who went missing yesterday morning have been found alive in the Maine woods after a couple nearby heard their cries for help. Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Beth Jones.
And I'm Devin Dagnall. The search effort involved the Maine Warden Service, Maine State Police, and Bangor Police. It was a Maine game warden who ultimately found the 2 men. 77-year-old Sidney Hoyt and 75-year-old Gary Foster were last seen leaving the Maine Veterans Home on Hogan Road between 7 and 8 o'clock Tuesday morning. Hoyt was known to suffer from multiple health issues. Foster suffered from cognitive issues. A search involving multiple law enforcement agencies got underway after the men went missing yesterday morning. They were reportedly going for a ride on Stud Mill Road and said they would be back by 5 p.m. According to the Department of Inland Fisheries and Wildlife, at approximately 5:30 this evening, local resident Steve Lyon had gone outside to get something when he heard shouting from beyond a stream that borders his property. His wife Shannon then heard the cries as well and called 911. A game warden located the Honda Ridgeline. The 2 men were known to have left Bangor Inn near the Lyons farm. The warden found Foster in the truck, hypothermic but alert and able to talk. The department says the warden then located Hoyt about half a mile away on a trail. Hoyt had reportedly gotten out of a vehicle to go find help. He too was hypothermic but able to walk. Both men were taken to Northern Light Eastern Maine Medical Center to be treated for exposure. Temperatures last night were in the single digits in the area. Authorities say further details may be released at a later time.
Well, the State House was once again buzzing with activity as members of the 132nd Legislature were officially sworn in as lawmakers. Our Augusta reporter Corey Bouchard has the story.
I hereby call the representatives-elect of the 132nd Legislature to order.
On Wednesday, members of the 132nd Legislature met for the first time to conduct some housekeeping before the legislative session officially starts in January. Republicans hoped to flip control of at least one chamber, but came up short. They did manage to tighten the margins.
You know, the Republicans had the strongest showing that we've had in the Maine Senate in 10 years, and I think that's a testament to the messaging which we were focused on out during the campaign season, namely getting the cost of living for Maine people back under control. We can do more to lower the cost of energy, particularly if we're not giving away subsidies on the backs of ratepayers to political cronies.
Returning to the House this session is Speaker Ryan Fecteau, who was officially elected by his peers as Speaker of the House on Wednesday. He says Democrats will be focused on helping improve the lives of Mainers while also reaching across the aisle for common sense solutions.
And what I'm hoping to do, and I think what House Democrats are focused on, what this legislature will be focused on, is making sure families have security and economic opportunity. They need to be able to feel like they're not just getting by, but they're actually getting ahead. They're being able to save some money, maybe buy a home one day. Those are the things that I'm concerned about, and I hope we'll be able to address those over these next 2 years.
The first regular session of the 132nd Legislature will begin in January. At the State House, I'm Corey Bouchard for ABC 7 and Fox 22 News.
Maine's constitutional officers were elected at the State House today. Secretary of State Shenna Bellows, Attorney General Aaron Fry, and State Auditor Matt Dunlap all won their re-election bids, with some facing Republican challengers. Former Bangor State Representative Joseph Perry won his bid to become the Maine State Treasurer. Perry said it's a job he's been after for a while now and looks forward to taking on the role.
I've been in the legislature over the past 30 years, and the treasurer's a great job. I've followed in the past. The opportunity to run doesn't come up very often. The opportunity this time to run came up well after I was in the race, or even after I was elected. And so it was a very short campaign window, and I thought the experience I've gained over 30 years would be quite useful serving in the Treasurer's office, and so I threw my hat in the ring.
A special election will be held to fill Perry's seat in the coming months.
Well, Jared Golden is officially Maine's 2nd District congressional member. The race went to ranked choice voting after no candidate received the required number of votes to claim the seat. Jared Golden was declared the winner, but his opponent, Austin Theriault, asked for a recount of the votes cast on Election Day. That recount began on Monday, but ended earlier today.
We recounted everything in Aroostook County, in the city of Bangor, in Kennebec County, and a good portion of the city of Lewiston, not finding that results were changing from election night. Austin Theriault's campaign has withdrawn that recount request.
Cook says it's not uncommon to end recounts early. In fact, she says the same thing actually happened in 2018 when Jared Golden defeated Bruce Poliquin for the 2nd District congressional seat.
Jared Golden and Austin Theriault have both released statements regarding the results of the recount. Golden said in part, quote, "I spoke earlier this afternoon with State Rep Austin Theriault, who called to concede the race. I appreciate Austin's service in Augusta and his dedication to the people of Maine. I'd like to thank the voters for participating in the greatest democracy the world has ever known, and all the staff and volunteers who helped ensure the election's integrity on Election Day. During the runoff and over the course of this recount. I'm already back in D.C. preparing for the next Congress, where I will continue to work hard with anyone from any party to do what's best for Maine's working families."
For his part, Austin Theriault said in a statement, quote, "It has been the honor of my life to run to represent Mainers in Washington. This was an extremely close and hard-fought race, and I'm humbled by the tremendous reception we received from all corners of the district. I ran this campaign centered around putting people over politics, and it's time to do that now. I want to congratulate Jared Golden and wish him the best of luck representing our beautiful home. I look forward to working with him, the rest of the delegation, and the Maine people to continue to fight for our state," end quote.
Well, Bangor is among the communities that will benefit from $2 million awarded for statewide transit projects. Maine DOT announced today the Bangor Community Connector will get more than $467,000 for 2 hybrid or electric vehicles and driver training. Maine DOT Commissioner Bruce Von Note says Maine's transit agencies play a vital role in meeting transportation needs of our people every day. He says reliable transit service also reduces the impact the transportation sector has on our climate.
The Internal Revenue Service and Security Summit partners are urging people to watch out for bad tax advice on social media. A joint statement says during the past year there has been an escalation of new scams and bad advice surfacing on social media, and that advice tends to promise to magically enrich taxpayers. Well, IRS Commissioner Danny Werfel says, quote, "The growth of bad tax advice on social media continues and luring unsuspecting taxpayers into filing bad tax returns. We urge people to do some research before falling for these scams. Finding a trusted professional or visiting irs.gov is a better way to research a tax issue than relying on someone talking in their car or in their kitchen about a non-existent tax hack," end quote.
Maine's U.S. Attorney's Office has reached an agreement with the Lowe's Company to resolve an Americans with Disability Act complaint filed by a customer with a mobility impairment. The customer alleged that a Lowe's location in Brewer did not provide accessible parking located on the shortest accessible route from parking to an accessible entrance, and indicated that the same allegation may be applicable to other store locations. The U.S. Attorney's Office contended that several locations in Maine, including Brewer, Brunswick, Portland, and Windham, failed to provide accessible parking on the shortest route to an accessible entrance. Lowe's has agreed to make modifications to improve accessibility for parking at their stores across the state and to survey locations across the country for similar issues. Lowe's also agreed to compensate the complainant $5,000.
All right, well, we had a beautiful sunny day and luckily no wind. So even though the temperatures were crisp, it was actually pretty comfortable outside and certainly very nice.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Just beautiful skies all day today.
Yeah, it was great.
Looks like it's starting to get a little different out there. Snow's starting to fall on the ground.
Yeah, for sure. And it's looking like the overnight and even the morning commute could get a little messy. So let's get a first check of our forecast.
Thank you, Beth. Tonight's weather is brought to you by Jordan's Furniture. It's not just a store, it's an experience. All right, we can see that Alberta Clipper system is now making its way into town, bringing a few snow showers here right now. And we can see lots of snow is behind that. It's going to be making its way into the northern portion of the state. So here's kind of an idea of what we got going on for tonight, right around 12:30. We'll have some snow here in town, but then overnight tonight, those temperatures are going to keep raising. We're going to get above freezing. We'll have a chance for some rain right around 4:30, and that's going to last until the early morning hours before this system make its way out right around 10:30 in the morning. But don't think we're going to be out of the woods just yet. We do have some more snow on the way right around 5:30 for tomorrow night, which can add a little bit of snow sticking to the ground for us. But we see overnight that we're dealing with snow transitioning into rain and temperatures raising above freezing. Beth?
Alrighty, Chase, thank you so much. And still to come on Fox 22 News at 10, our Doug Banks brings us the first installment of a new series called Corrosion and Care and the Search for Solace.
Tired of your internet service constantly letting you down? Those other providers may promise the world with their flashy advertisements, but are you truly having a good customer experience? Fear not, because there's a new player in town. Introducing GoNet Speed. No more endless hold times or automated responses. We're here to listen, support, and provide you with the exceptional service you deserve. Our fast, reliable fiber internet, it's mind-blowing. Let us show you what true internet satisfaction feels like.
Find the perfect truck for your fall adventures at Quirk locations statewide. Get the power you need with Ram 2500 Laramie. Haul it all and save $15,000. Tailgating looks better in a GMC. Save $11,531 on Sierra 1500 SLE. And for all your fall cleanup needs, lease the reliable Ford F-150 for $399 per month. For certified pre-owned trucks, visit our Quirk Motor City used vehicle centers in Augusta, Bangor, Belfast, Portland, and Rockland. It's your truck. Find it at Quirk statewide.
Ye Olde General, located in Carmel, has everything you could ever need. Whether it be kerosene, regular or ethanol-free gasoline, wood pellets, a fresh-cooked pizza, or fried food, they've got you covered. Looking to get a stiff drink after work? Ye Olde General is an agency liquor store with a great selection of alcohol. Ye Olde General can help with your next home project, carrying carpentry supplies from hammers and nails to specialty nuts and bolts. They have what you need to get the job done. Stop by Ye Olde General today. If you don't think they'll have it, they probably do.
This holiday season, you can expect the same great deals as you do every year, here at Quality Jewelers. Come in between now and Christmas Eve to capitalize on our 36-month 0% financing. We also have discounts store-wide, up to 50% off select pieces priced to move. Our expert staff is standing by, ready to help you find that perfect gift to fit your price point. Make this year one to remember with us here at Quality Jewelers. Quality Jewelers, locally owned and operated, Penobscot Plaza, Bangor.
Talented head chefs, right?
Big egos mean big blow-ups for Gordon.
Where is the passion?
Hell's Kitchen head chefs only, all new Thursdays on Fox.
Hello, I'm Emma Smith, and coming up on Good Morning Maine, we'll get the scene from the 132nd Legislature in Augusta as it's swearing-in day with constitutional officers being elected. Plus, we'll have an in-depth look at the abuse endured by victims at a Lee residential care facility. These stories plus that snowy forecast coming up.
That shocked many of us when the abuse dealt by former employees of a local adult care facility was first reported. Since then, plea bargains and trials have captured the public's consciousness. But what about the families left in the wake? Our Doug Banks has the story.
What if the people entrusted to care for your child were suddenly the ones on trial for abusing them? That is the reality one mother is facing. Some time ago, she welcomed me into her home to sit down and speak with her. She asked for her children's faces to not be shown and their names abbreviated. This is part one of our three-part series, Corrosion and Care, in the search for solace.
When he was little, he used to lay underneath the trees and he watched the leaves move. And we just lay there and we'd watch the leaves just gently blow. It just like calmed us right down, and he found different ways to soothe himself, and that was one of them.
In January of 1998, Danielle Longsworth welcomed twin boys into the world, CR and KR.
He is funny, witty, clever, and he's a sweetheart. Like if he knows he hurts your feelings, he can't say it, but he'll just like take his hand and go like this.
At 3 years old, the twins were both diagnosed with autism.
I knew something before they were a year old, actually.
Longsworth says when her son KR was unable to communicate or express emotion, he would headbutt.
Everybody else wanted to hold his brother, but KR, they were just always nervous about him, and I wasn't nervous about him. Because I always wanted KR to know that he was just as important as his brother.
As the twins grew older, they moved through different services until settling at their father's.
It was hard because I felt helpless. You really need to have somebody to help you and support you. And I didn't have anybody to help me. And that's why the boys end up living with their dad, because I didn't have any help.
By the age of around 17, Longsworth says the boys were taken from their fathers by the state.
CR wrote down on a piece of paper to the teacher, and he said, "Spend the night Mama's house happy." And he went home and he showed it to his dad, and his dad burnt it in front of him.
With help from her sister-in-law, Margaret, KR was moved to a service in Florida.
You know, it was not a good situation there. He got beat up a couple times.
The 1,000 miles away from her son would soon change when the agency her other son was staying at visited KR and agreed to take him in.
So when he got there and he saw his house, he was really happy. I just kept visiting him, constantly, just so he reassured him that nothing's going to happen to him.
With a mother and her 2 sons reunited, a once broken family found solace again.
Just that feeling of finally being, okay, being in a safe place, and not knowing that not too long after that is when it started.
Join us tomorrow night for the second installment of Corrosion and Care and the Search for Solace.
Well, coming up on the 10 p.m. news on Fox 22, we have more local stories and, of course, a look at your national headlines as well. Stay with us.
D&R Construction provides exceptional service to Eastern and Central Maine. From roofing and siding to full remodels, D&R Construction does it all with skill and precision. Give them a call for a free estimate today at 881-9033.
Fellas, listen up for a second. If you're anything like me, you wouldn't know where to begin when picking out jewelry for your significant other. But I sent my wife to Quality Jewelers, and they created what's called a wish list. Basically, it's a cheat sheet for picking out exactly what she's going to love. I walked in, picked something that she had already picked out, financed it for 36 months at 0%. They even gift wrapped it so it's ready for Christmas morning. Thank you, Quality Jewelers. Don't know what I'd do without you.
Fires, floods, burst pipes. Disasters happen, but the mess they leave behind doesn't have to last. For 40 years, Bouchard Cleaning and Restoration has been there to help Mainers get back to the closest to normal as they can. When your property is at its worst, Bouchard Cleaning and Restoration is at their best, and they have been for 4 decades. Put your trust in the Bouchard team. Bouchard Cleaning and Restoration. You keep the memories, we'll handle the rest.
Don't get cold feet this winter. Stay warm and dry with high-performance footwear from Comfort Shoes and More. With an extensive selection of winter boots rated from 0 to minus 60 degrees Fahrenheit, you'll find comfort in knowing your feet will be warm in any weather. Discover the latest in functional and fashionable footwear with grippers built right into the sole, with boots in stock up to 6E and size 17 for men and women. Take the drive to Newport for a sit and fit to find your perfect fit. You and your feet will be glad you did.
Did you know that starting May 7th, 2025, the federal government will begin enforcing Real ID? That means you will need a Real ID, passport, or equivalent to fly domestically or enter certain federal facilities. As you plan business travel or your dream vacation next summer, don't wait. Make an appointment online at the BMV today. We're here to help. Brought to you by this station, Maine Association of Broadcasters, and the Secretary of State.
D&R Construction provides exceptional service to Eastern and Central Maine. From roofing and siding to full remodels, D&R Construction does it all with skill and precision. Give them a call for a free estimate today at 881-9033.
There's one number you need to know. It's called Joe.
President-elect Trump's cabinet picks spent another day on Capitol Hill in the hopes of locking in votes before the Senate confirmation hearings begin. Some nominees are still raising eyebrows. Fox's Kevin Cork has more.
More meetings were underway on Capitol Hill Wednesday as President-elect Donald Trump's cabinet picks rubbed elbows with senators ahead of confirmation hearings. And while Attorney General pick Pam Bondi and Defense Secretary nominee Pete Hegseth continued to make the rounds, there was a new face roaming the halls as hedge fund manager Scott Bessent, who Mr. Trump selected to be his Treasury Secretary, stopped by.
I'm here today to listen, learn, and meet the senators.
Incoming Senate Majority Leader John Thune told Fox News every candidate deserves a fair vetting process.
These are the president's nominees, the people he wants in these key positions. No, I don't prejudge any of these candidates.
Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy, the co-chairs of the newly formed Department of Government Efficiency, will make an appearance on Capitol Hill Thursday to discuss the project that they're working on ahead of Mr. Trump taking office. And at least one Democrat has already joined the Doge caucus.
Ultimately, I just think that there's not a single American who thinks government's perfect. If there's good ideas, you support them. And if there's bad ideas, you fight against that.
Meanwhile, New York Congressman Anthony D'Esposito is pitching himself to lead the Drug Enforcement Administration after Trump's original pick withdrew from consideration.
I mean, it's something that I would absolutely be honored to do.
As the confirmation process continues to play out, President-elect Trump is expected to sit for his first post-election network interview on Friday with NBC. That should be very interesting. In Washington, I'm Kevin Cork, Fox News.
The political crisis in South Korea appears to be calming. On Tuesday, the president declared, then lifted martial law. The legislature is against him. Fox's Trey Yingst is in Seoul, South Korea, with the story.
Demonstrators marched through the streets of Seoul, calling for their country's president to step down.
I woke up in the middle of the night to hear the news, and I thought I was dreaming. It was just hard to believe this happened in our country in the 21st century.
President Yoon is facing possible impeachment proceedings after reversing a surprise martial law decree, which the country's parliament unanimously rejected.
He is not in his right mind. His judgment and situational awareness are not normal.
Wednesday afternoon, protesters remained outside of the National Assembly building. They gave speeches, chanted, and called for accountability.
You can hear in the voices of the crowd, they say they will stay here until President Yoon steps down.
American officials continue to monitor the tension in South Korea, with the State Department urging U.S. citizens to avoid gatherings, pointing out that the situation remains fluid. Secretary of State Antony Blinken looking to avoid damage to the relationship with one of America's key allies in the Asia-Pacific region.
We're obviously watching the developments very closely. This is one of our closest partners and allies around the world. We welcome President Yoon's statement withdrawing the martial law order.
South Korean lawmakers are expected to vote on impeaching their president later this week. Reporting from Seoul, South Korea, Trey Yingst, Fox News.
Well, as the House Select Committee wraps up its 2-year investigation into the origins of the COVID-19 pandemic, some Democrats say they still have unanswered questions. Fox's Chad Pergram reports.
We have not ever really determined what the cause was of COVID-19, where it came from.
House Democrats pushing back on the COVID committee's final report on how the pandemic started. The Republican-led panel wrapped up its 2-year investigation into the virus this week. Among major findings, Republicans say the virus likely originated from a lab leak in Wuhan, China.
The lab leak is the most likely origin scenario, that the Chinese Communist Party was conducting dangerous research.
But Democrats aren't so sure.
I think Republicans want to say it escaped from the Wuhan lab. I don't think we have the proof there. I have lots of questions.
The more than 500-page report details arguments for the, quote, lab leak theory, but Democrats say it provides no clear evidence. It also accuses former top health official Anthony Fauci of trying to suppress the theory. Democrats blasted that as baseless.
It is clear from our two final reports that as the Select Subcommittee concludes, we are leaving with different impressions of what we did or did not find.
At the panel's final meeting, lawmakers acknowledged the investigation was at times messy. However, both sides did reach some bipartisan agreements.
If our work leads to a trustable system that is able to complete our goals of predicting, preparing, protecting us, and preventing the next pandemic, to me, that's reward enough.
Both sides agreed that the administration of former New York Governor Andrew Cuomo mishandled health data during the pandemic. On Capitol Hill, Chad Pergram, Fox News.
A healthcare CEO gunned down while on a business trip in New York City. Police are calling it a targeted attack, and a manhunt is now underway for the shooter. Fox's Connor Hansen has more from Midtown Manhattan.
A shocking murder happening right here on this sidewalk behind me in the heart of Midtown Manhattan. Police are now searching for a suspect in what they're calling a targeted killing. An all-out manhunt Wednesday in New York City for the suspect who gunned down the CEO of United Healthcare. Brian Thompson was shot and killed outside a hotel where he was set to speak to investors.
I want to be clear. At this time, every indication is that this was a premeditated, pre-planned, targeted attack.
Police say a masked gunman shot Thompson in the back before fleeing on foot and then riding an electric bike to nearby Central Park. The 50-year-old executive was rushed to a nearby hospital but did not survive. The NYPD says it doesn't have a clear motive for the shooting.
It appears the suspect was lying in wait for several minutes. And as the victim was walking to the conference hotel, the suspect approached from behind and fired several rounds.
Police say the gun jammed before the suspect cleared it and started firing again.
At the scene, we recover 3 live 9mm rounds and 3 discharged 9mm shell casings.
We have the drones up, we have aviation out, we have K9 out.
Thompson did not have a security detail with him, and his wife told NBC News he previously received threats but did not alter his travel plans. And this shooting took place just a few blocks away from Rockefeller Center, where thousands gather for that annual Christmas tree lighting. Police said none of this changed that event, and it will still have a heavy NYPD presence. In New York, Connor Hansen, Fox News.
In what's being called the marquee case of the term, the U.S. Supreme Court heard arguments today on transgender care for minors and whether states can ban gender-affirming treatments such as puberty blockers for kids and teens. Fox's Rebecca Castor has details from Washington.
Advocates on both sides packed the Supreme Court Plaza Wednesday as the justices hear arguments in a case that will greatly impact transgender health care for minors.
I have kids who need support, and you know, it changes their lives when you give them this kind of gender-affirming care, and it saves lives.
Children, they can't consent to things like sex or buying alcohol or cigarettes. They can't vote. So to allow them to make a decision that will affect not only the entire course of the development physically, psychologically, and reproductively is completely ridiculous.
This case stems from a Tennessee law that bans puberty blockers and hormone therapy for transgender kids, but allows the same treatments to be used to treat early or late onset puberty. 25 states have similar laws, but the Biden administration wants the High Court to declare them unconstitutional and a form of discrimination on the basis of sex.
Law restricts medical care only when provided to induce physical effects inconsistent with birth sex. Someone assigned female at birth can't receive medication to live as a male, but someone assigned male can. That's a facial sex classification, full stop.
But Tennessee argues their law simply regulates medicine based on a patient's age, and that falls well within a state's power.
The Equal Protection Clause does not require the states to blind themselves to medical reality or to treat unlike things the same. and it does not constitutionalize one side's view of a disputed medical question.
The court's ruling will come this summer, and it could have a greater impact beyond health care. The justices may decide whether trans Americans are a group entitled to discrimination protections. From the U.S. Supreme Court, Rebecca Castor, Fox News.
Still to come on Fox 22 News at 10, a fire broke out at Herman Mountain Ski Area, damaging vital equipment.
And in sports, Maine men's hockey works to replace senior captain Lyndon Green after learning he'll be out for an undisclosed amount of time. We'll be right back.
Preheat your ovens and your brains.
All new baking mysteries are cooking up Thursdays. Don't miss an all-new Crime Scene Kitchen, Thursdays on Fox.
At Spectrum, we believe every day unlocks unlimited possibilities to bring you closer to the people and places you love. Spectrum transforms your gaming experience into a galaxy of adventures. And with the fastest, most reliable internet, you're always front row to the entertainment you love, no matter where you are. Get Spectrum Internet Premier for $30 per month when bundled, plus a 3-year price guarantee. Call 1-833-440-0029. Spectrum Internet puts streaming live TV, sports, and popular apps all at your fingertips.
We've got a 100-year-old company here, and it's because of the service, the quality, and the experience. It gets done right.
I think we've been doing it for so long. The only thing that we do, that when we walk into a room, we automatically know how to treat that window. We can take any product that the customer's looking for and make it work in just about any situation that they present us with. So
there's no reason to be overwhelmed. We can help you through it.
We're not going anywhere. We've been around for 100 years.
In a small town like this, you got to take care of each other, and that's really what it comes down to.
Have a good evening.
Mike's & Sons is a business my father started. When Matt and I were buying this store, the credit unions found a way to do it for us.
They don't look at us as a number. Alicia out of Mike's & Sons. We want to be able to run our business the way we feel is best for our customers.
We're not in this to make money. We're just trying to help everybody be what they want to be for the future.
If something is even remotely possible, they find a way to get it done. That's why we stick with the credit unions.
Now's the time to get a great deal on the #1 selling compact tractor in the U.S. Professional-grade mowers, durable Sidekick utility vehicles, and versatile compact tractors. It's the equipment you need to take care of your land. Right now, bring home select Kubota equipment for 0 down, 0% APR for up to 60 months, plus save up to $300.
Available at Doors Equipment, 1468 Outer Hammond Street, Bangor.
Santa Claus is coming to town, and he's making special stops here at ABC7 and Fox 22's morning show before the big night. Starting in December, Santa will be here reading your children's emails and letters. Have your kids send their message to Santa by emailing santa@wvii.com or by sending it to our mailing address at 371 Target Industrial Circle in Bangor. And make sure to watch Good Morning Maine on ABC7 and Fox 22 to see what Santa has to say.
Just days after a record-breaking Thanksgiving travel season, airlines are facing growing questions from lawmakers about rising airfare costs. It comes after a Senate report showed U.S. airlines making billions of dollars in fees. Fox's Kelly Saberi has more.
They are piggy banks to be shaken down by these skyrocketing fees.
A bipartisan Senate panel criticizing airlines for charging so-called junk fees, which they say raise prices for customers and are pure profit for air carriers. Wednesday's hearing comes after a Senate report released last week showed U.S. airlines made more than $12 million on seat fees alone during the past 5 years. That includes charges for things like extra legroom and aisle seats. But executives argue they are giving customers choices while their companies face rising costs.
Our customers who prioritize affordability have the option to choose a lower fare product and in doing so, opt out of paying for additional services they do not need.
The committee also found lower budget airlines Spirit and Frontier paid more than $26 million in bonuses to their employees for making passengers check bags at the gate.
Your airlines are paying millions of dollars to your employees to harass people who've already paid. They're there in line because they've already paid.
If a gate agent has a higher level of complaints,
we have the ability to remove the incentive program from them.
The Biden administration has made it a priority to tackle these junk fees, and in October, a new rule was finalized that mandates automatic refunds for canceled or significantly delayed flights. But the prices don't seem to be hurting air travel, with TSA screening a record 3 million passengers the Sunday after Thanksgiving. In Chicago, Kelly Saberi, Fox Business.
President-elect Trump's policies could impact the housing market in 2025. Fox's Jerry Willis has more on what buyers and sellers should expect to see.
More than 80% of Americans believe it's a bad time to buy a house. But new analysis of the market shows 2025 will be friendlier to buyers. Realtor.com, which Fox shares common ownership with, sees existing home inventories expanding by nearly 12%, while construction of new single-family homes grows almost 14%. The result is the highest for-sale inventory since December 2019. And more homes means more buyer options. Chief economist Danielle Hale sees Trump giving builders a boost.
We've got a big deficit over the last decade. We haven't built enough homes, so there's plenty of opportunity, and we do think builders are going to try to close that gap. I think the administration, the incoming administration, talked a lot about opening up federal lands, cutting through regulation. Those kind of steps could make it easier for builders to fill that gap.
Realtor.com sees mortgage rates falling from today's 6.8% average to 6.3% on average over the course of the year. That's much better than the 7.22% high we saw this year, but well below near-term lows in the threes. So, slight improvement there. As they've done for years, prices will continue to rise next year, though by far less. Realtor.com sees a 3.7% bump to prices. But there's a twist here. Realtor.com also says 20% of houses are currently listing with price cuts. Meanwhile, a slight decline, 0.1% in rents, more multifamily rental construction expected to be swamped by more renters. The best advice we've been getting comes from realtors themselves, who encourage buyers to get in the market and buy now and refi when rates finally make a move lower. They say, date the rate, marry the house. In New York, Jerry Willis, Fox Business.
That's an interesting euphemism to remember. Date the rate, but marry the house. I guess you keep that in mind when you're scouting for a new home.
Absolutely.
All righty. Well, our full 5-day is coming up. Stay with us.
An Alberta Clipper system is on the way as we speak, and it's been bringing chances for snow and rain overnight tonight. Will that rain wash away any accumulations of snow we see, or will we have a few inches? I'll have the answers coming right up.
I would rather be here than in a nursing home.
Mom's living at home right now, and we have support coming in from the community.
My work can be a wide range of things, helping them shop to household chores, anything like that.
I look forward to him every single week, playing a game or just talking.
It is a good job because of the hours. Work as many or as few as you want.
If needed, we're here, but it's nice to know that there's extra help and we can ask for it and get it.
When you're ready to tackle your next building project, depend on the knowledge and experience of Hammond Lumber Company. Hammond's Home Planning Center will turn your ideas into accurate conceptual drawings, and 3D visualization is available. Your Hammond sales rep will prepare a materials list and cost estimate. And when you buy all of your materials from them, Hammond will refund all of your design fees. Hammond can deliver your order from any of their 22 locations across Maine and New Hampshire. Hammond Lumber Company, your building project partner since 1953.
Gun Sports and Brewer knows that for fun, exercise, and meeting new friends, nothing is better than ice skating. Whether it's sailing down the ice, making a great pass, and scoring in a game of hockey, or the grace, strength, and expression of figure skating. From the youngest child all the way to adulthood, anyone can enjoy the fun of skating. At Gun Sports, we supply the equipment for your skating fun for great prices, the proper fit, and service after the sale. Shop your locally owned Gun Sports Shop, Greenpoint Road in Brewer.
Are your gutters weighed down by debris causing them to sag and overflow? I'm Tony Hafford with TC Hafford Basement Systems. Clogged gutters lead to costly repairs for your home, so skip the cleaning and stop the clogs with Gutter Shutter. Gutter Shutter, the world's best gutter, is a high-performance gutter with a lifetime no-clog guarantee. Stop the clutter, get Gutter Shutter. Call TC Hafford Basement Systems today for all things basementy.
Ashton Genty and Boise State look to punch their ticket to the college football playoffs against UNLV. The Mountain West Championship, Friday on Fox.
Our main weather tonight is brought to you by Diversified Ink Tattoo Studio in Penobscot Plaza in Bangor, providing custom ink by licensed artists for over 20 years. All right, so for tonight, we already hit our low a few hours ago, and temperatures have been raising ever since then. So we have a new low for the 10 o'clock show tonight. Right around freezing is what we're seeing right now, and temperatures are just going to keep getting warmer overnight. We're expecting snow at first, but that is going to transition into rain with those warmer temperatures coming. So we can see right around getting close to sunrise for tomorrow, maybe a little bit before, is when we're going to hit our high, right around 37, 38, 39 degrees is very possible. We can see 40s down by Deer Isle, so closer to the coast, that's where those warmer temperatures will be. But those do go all the way up into Millinocket, 34 degrees, still a little bit above freezing for tomorrow. And we do see those colder temperatures staying to the west and to the north below freezing, where all that precipitation will stay as snow. As we go later into tomorrow night, that is when we'll be below freezing once again. We have a chance for some snow tomorrow night as well, so any snow that we do get tomorrow night will stick onto the ground. We can see our average high right now, 38 degrees out there, and we're going to be very close to the average for a brief few hours for tomorrow. But then we can see throughout this weekend, cold air moves in. Saturday, a high of only 24 degrees. And then going into Monday, we're going to be a little bit above average, high of 41. Another chance for some rain and snow once again. But then we'll be closer to average by next week, a high of only 36 degrees on Wednesday. So wind is coming with this Alberta Clipper system. We can see already going to midnight tonight, 33 mile per hour gusts are what is expected by Bar Harbor. Getting close to 20 here in town, and many areas in the west and northwestern portion of the state are already above 33 mile per hour gust up there. And it's going to get even stronger into those early morning hours when that snow is going to actually transition into rain. We see 45 mile per hour gusts here in Bar Harbor, 36 in Bucksport, 30 here in town, and many other areas right around 30 mile per hour gusts. As we continue on, those winds will die off a little bit, but then going into Thursday night and the Friday morning, we'll have those strong winds once again, right around 30 miles per hour here in the coast, 25 miles per hour here in town. So it's going to make those temperatures feel a lot colder than they really are going to this weekend. We can see, though, the snow is making its way into town. Still a lot of snow behind that, and that's going to be making its way in the northern region. That is why we have that winter storm warning going on in the northern portion of our state. Lots of winter weather advisories out there as well, stretching all the way down to the southwestern portion of the state. So yes, this Alberta Clipper system does mean business. Right around midnight tonight, we're going to first be starting off the night seeing snow, but then the temperatures do rise overnight tonight, and that's when we're going to see some rain showers here in town, and many of the coastal areas are going to have to be dealing with rain as well. You won't be seeing much snow with this system, but as we continue on into tomorrow, we're going to see in the afternoon, we'll have a little bit of a break, but then by 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, that's when we're going to have a chance for some snow in our area. How much snow are we going to see? Looks like right around 1.6 inches here in town, and heavier amounts up north, 4.7 Millinocket, 7.1 in Greenville. For tonight, though, low 32. We have those rising temperatures with rain and snow on the way, and going into tomorrow, high of 39 briefly, and then the temperatures will drop still with some rain and snow. Extended forecast does show going into Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, temperatures are dropping into the 20s, and then we'll be back into the 40s on Monday. Beth?
All righty, Chase, thank you.
Sports is next with Tyler Cruz.
Commercial vehicles can be dangerous, and they usually carry big insurance policies. So whether you're hurt by a landscaping truck like this, a work van like this, or a big rig like this, we know commercial vehicle accidents, and we know how to get you the big money you may deserve. If any commercial vehicle hurts you, call the Twos. We win for you.
Hurt by a commercial vehicle? Call the Twos. We win for you. Call 222-2222.
Finding the right vehicle for you and your family can be a daunting task. At Varney Buick GMC, our expert staff is here to make the journey as painless as possible. Our goal is to get you and your family in a vehicle that will best fit into your lifestyle. Communication is key, and our team makes sure to be completely transparent throughout the process, informing you on all of your options. Come experience Varney value, only at Varney Buick GMC.
Rowell's Garage has been serving customers in the greater Dover-Foxcroft region since 1946. Our goal is not just selling you a vehicle, but also giving you quality service to maintain your vehicle at peak performance. Browse our inventory online or in person, whether it's a car, truck, or SUV. We can put you in the vehicle that is right for you. Sales, service, and parts. Rowell's Garage. Doing business the right way every day.
Why should your new floor come from Carpet One? Because we're passionate about the spaces our neighbors call home. We're part of your community, and we're also part of the world's largest cooperative of independently owned and operated flooring stores. So you can be sure you'll get great selection and outstanding value with every installation. Whether it's carpet, hardwood, tile, or luxury vinyl, our experts take the guesswork out of choosing the right floor. We're your local Carpet One Floor and Home, the one store for your perfect floor.
Welcome to the real Full Monty!
6 celebrities will bear it all for a great cause. The Real Full Monty, Monday, only on Fox.
Welcome back in, everyone. Thank you for staying with us. We'll start on the ice. Maine men's hockey turns the page to Stonehill College this week. They will host the Skyhawks for a pair of games on Saturday and Sunday. The Black Bears will have to continue on without captain Lyndon Breen. He will undergo surgery Friday and an undisclosed lower body injury. The fifth-year senior had tallied 5 goals and 4 assists before the injury on Saturday at RPI. He is a massive piece of not only the Maine offense, but their culture as a whole. Breen had 66 points for the Black Bears the past 2 seasons. Head coach Ben Barr says they will certainly miss Lyndon, but it's next man up for his squad.
It's a tough thing for Breener just because he is like everything Black Bear hockey is, and you know, it's you feel for him in his 5th year going through that, and he was playing so well, had a hat trick that game, so it's you know, you get emotional thinking about, like, you know, that a kid like that, you know, being out for a while and how much he means to us, but it's also, you know, that's why depth is such an important part of your team.
It'll be difficult to replace a player like Breen, a 5th-year senior, a captain who had done everything for the Black Bears, but they think they have the horses to make up for it. Assistant captain Nolan Renwick says it starts with everyone going just a little bit harder because the Hockey East doesn't care who you're missing.
We love him and we hate to see him go down, but I think from a hockey perspective, we need guys to step up, and that includes me too. We're not going to make excuses for him being out, and we're gonna do our best to fill that role and fill that production. And you know, we got guys that can step in the lineup and play on any night.
Moving on to some high school hoops now. After their first gold ball in program history last winter, the Bangor Christian boys are back at it looking for another run in Class D North. The Patriots rattling off a 19-3 season last winter, leading them to a Class D gold ball victory over the Valley boys. Bangor Christian lost a few seniors after last season, but they do return several key pieces from that championship run, like sophomore guard Rajon Reed, junior forward Jesse Booker, and junior wing Elliot Straubel. But it's not those individual pieces that matter. It's how cohesive the Patriots are as a unit that will lead them to success.
When you can't rely on certain players to like just ISO all the time, it's good to be a cohesive team to just work together. And we've got a bunch of leaders in all these kids, and we definitely are just more of a team atmosphere. There's no really one person above anyone else.
I think it's just about everyone stepping up. You know, they got some bench players stepping up, and just the starters just fill that role. It's very important. You know, we lost our best scorer and then a very good senior captain, and it's good just to keep unity together and just fight together and win.
Right now, the Patriots are all trying to figure out their new roles. They lost their top scorer, Jalen Reed, to graduation. That's a hard piece to replace on and off the court. Bangor Christian did take down Narragansett in a preseason matchup by double figures on Tuesday evening, and they will open up the season with Stearns on Friday at the Cross Center. But right now, they are just focused on themselves and getting their guys to gel together.
Well, we're definitely still meshing as a team because we got a lot of younger kids coming up, but that was our first game where we really meshed, so I don't know. We got strengths all over the court. We got strengths in our guards and our big men.
I'm really excited to see how we're going to gel as a team on the court because we haven't really had any practice or games with everybody on the floor, so I'm really excited to see that.
And wishing all of our area hoops teams best of luck this season. Games officially get underway on Thursday. Hope everyone has a happy, healthy, and successful winter. Meanwhile, high school hockey season has been underway for a bit, especially for girls hockey. And on Wednesday night, the Penobscot Pioneers at home for some early season action. The Pios hosting the Black Tigers Co-op from Central Maine at Penobscot Ice Arena. Picking it up in the first period, Abby DeRosiers makes the initial save, but the puck is loose in front of the net, falls to a Pioneer, but it's blocked again to stay tied at 0. Shortly after, Isabel Brideau goes bar down to open the scoring. That gives the Pioneers the 1-0 lead. That lead wouldn't last long, though. Katie Berard carries it down the ice. She finishes the breakaway. That ties this one up at 1 goal apiece. The Pioneers, however, would be too much. Here's Kaylee Coleman, fires a shot right over the goalie's shoulder to take the lead, and the Pioneers win it by a score of 9-2. Going to some college football now, former Maine football head coach Joe Harasimiak is gearing up for another head coaching gig as of Wednesday. The former Black Bear coach recently hired to lead the UMass football program in Amherst. The Minutemen will be competing in the MAC conference beginning next season. Harasimiak most recently served as defensive coordinator at Rutgers. He began his career as an assistant with Maine Maritime Academy, arriving in Orono in 2011 as a defensive assistant. He spent 2 years as the defensive coordinator before being promoted to head coach in 2015. Harasimiak led the Black Bears to the FCS semifinals back in 2018. He amassed a record of 20-15 in Maine. All right, wishing him the best of luck. That is all the time we have for sports. We'll be right back after the break.
D&R Construction provides exceptional service to Eastern and Central Maine. From roofing and siding to full remodels, D&R Construction does it all with skill and precision. Give them a call for a free estimate today at 881-9033.
I got hurt in a car accident, but hiring a lawyer sounds like such a hassle.
It's actually not. It's easier than you think to hire Lowry & Associates. Just call the twos.
We can tell you in just a few minutes if you may have a case. And that free call could mean the difference of thousands of dollars for you.
Lowry & Associates started working for me after just a few minutes, and they settled my case for $300,000.
It only takes a few minutes. Why wouldn't you call the twos?
Hurt in a car accident? I'm your go-to guy.
Call 222-2222.
Rome wasn't built in a day, but the Garcia's windows and patio doors were. So were the Jacksons and the Smiths. Yours could be next. Call Renewal by Andersen for fast, easy, and precise window replacement. Big savings, too. For a limited time, get these huge savings and special financing. Take the first step. Contact us for the best home improvement experience you'll ever have. Call now for a free consultation or visit us online. Renewal by Andersen.
Protect your vehicle from rusting away with Bell's Automotive Protection. We are the leader in mobile undercoating and rust proofing in Maine. We'll travel right to your driveway using the best and safest products on the market. This is much safer than rubberized coatings that can cause damage later on. We spray all types of vehicles, including commercial fleets. We all know vehicles aren't cheap anymore. Don't let the harsh winter chemicals eat them away. Call us or visit our page for a free quote. 207-659-3805.
Harvey High is now in session. Today's subjects, science.
Name something that could make the earth move.
Heavy rain.
Hold on, it raining.
Health class.
Something you drop in the toilet and still use it afterward.
Toothbrush.
Nah, I'm not sticking that in my mouth. We're not doing teeth brushing today.
Get schooled with Family Feud.
Weeknights at 7 on Fox 22.
D&R Construction provides exceptional service to Eastern and Central Maine. From roofing and siding to full remodels, D&R Construction does it all with skill and precision. Give them a call for a free estimate today at 881-9033.
Hey! We want the giraffes on Tuesday!
An all-new season of Animal Control premieres Thursday, January 2nd, followed by the series premiere of Going Dutch on Fox.
The city of Bangor has made some changes to make street parking easier this winter. At a November City Council meeting, officials approved a one-winter trial where winter parking rules will actually be the same as summer parking rules, except when a snow ban is in place. Previously, the rule was that outside of downtown, overnight street parking was banned for the season following the first snow-related parking ban and would stay in place through the end of the following March. During the day, an even-odd rule was in place where on even calendar days, drivers were only allowed to park on one side of the street and vice versa. Bangor Public Works Director Aaron Hootery says the planning board also changed parking requirements for new housing developments.
So they changed the ordinance to require fewer parking spaces per unit on a new construction. So as they reduce that requirement for off-street parking, people are going to be required to park on the street.
When there is a snow-related parking ban, the city plans to open a number of free parking lots. The city will notify residents when these bans are in place on their website, also through their alert system and on social media. And for more information on the alert system and the city's free overnight parking lots, you can head to our website, foxbangor.com.
According to Fairfield Town Manager Michelle Flewelling, during her 8+ years in the town's government, there's never been a nativity scene put in Veterans Memorial Park, but that recently changed. According to Flewelling, Fairfield State Representative Shelley Rudnicki purchased and put the nativity scene next to the gazebo last Saturday during a public event at the park. Flewelling says they take the separation of church and state seriously, and because the nativity scene is private property on public land, she says it raised concerns over the perception of promoting one religion over another.
We did reach out to the town's attorney to get some clarification, and he did suggest that we put up the sign to try to separate ourselves from the privately owned piece of property that is located within the public park.
Placed on the gazebo behind the nativity scene is a sign that reads, "This is a privately owned display." The intent is to show the municipality didn't place or endorse the nativity scene.
Well, Herman Mountain staff have been busy prepping for the annual arrival of skiers and snowboarders eager to hit the slopes, but early snowmaking efforts were stalled last night when a fire destroyed a key piece of equipment. Our David Ledford has details.
Snowmaking on Herman Mountain. It's an annual effort that typically kicks off in early December, but this year it was cut short by a fire in the ski area's pump house late Tuesday night.
And it just flattened the place. And it did it quick.
The pump house transports water to the mountain's snow machines. There's no word yet on the cause of the fire, but both the building and the equipment inside have been deemed a total loss.
We had some struggles. It's winter, so it was slippery, hard to drag lines across there. We had a large diesel tank inside that we were keeping water on to try to keep cool.
Owner Bill Whitcomb says he doesn't believe the fire will delay the start of the season, and he hopes that repairs will move quickly.
And we've got people digging for us right now, and hopefully within a day or two we'll have a pump. And so we don't really, it's a catastrophe, but we don't envision it keeping us down very long. As much as it looks or you think it might be a big impact, it really won't be. We may lose 2 snowmaking sessions.
And Whitcomb says the community has already stepped in to help.
I want to thank everybody that has already reached out to us. DISAT's insanely helpful. Dumpster, we called, told them what it was. It showed up a half hour later. Town of Herman and fire department, police department. I mean, we have had so much reaching out other businesses.
Whitcomb says he expects to open around the 3rd week of this month. In Herman, David Ledford, ABC 7 and Fox 22 News.
Well, even though staff are gearing up for this year's visitors, the business has been up for sale since 2022 and is currently listed at $2.9 million. Regardless, it's always great to hear that, even though there was a fire, it didn't, do extensive damage. They're going to be able to open, and of course, many folks stepping up to help.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Just Dysarts and getting that dumpster there just in time for them to start clearing things out and start moving on.
Yeah.
It's exactly what that place needs. And I know a lot of people are looking forward to that place.
Oh, absolutely. I'm sure people are very happy to hear that there's snow in the forecast as well.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, that is going to do it for us. From everyone here at Fox 22 News, take care and have a great night.
We'll see you later.
For more local news coverage, switch over to our sister station, ABC 7, right now for ABC 7 News at 11.
What do you...
Kimmel's got Tyler Perry and comedian Anthony Jeselnik. All new Jimmy Kimmel Live.
This is ABC 7 News at 11.
Two elderly men who went missing yesterday